Hi, I'm J.D. McClure. You may recognize me from such ads as Third Side's a Charm from Bog Street, or Opus 7 from Bog Street. Alright, so gonna do my ultra professional review with my phone notes and whatnot for you guys, but anyways, you guys have been following the story so far with the Materia. You know, it's been pretty interesting. It's been pretty fun. Well, for me it has been. So I'll try to keep this review kind of smooth, quick. In fact, I'm going to try the best I can to keep it a review. So let's get into it. I don't do reviews. I never planned on doing reviews. I'm not getting paid for doing this. These guys have become friends of mine. Just like the String Source review, that's not a paid thing that I did or anything like that. That was again trying to help some guys out. I'm a composer, you know, freelance engineer, guitar player. So the way I learned about GOC Guitars was basically this January, not last January, but actually 8 months ago. I went to NAMM as a TTM guitars artist. I had my first opportunity to really check out fan fret guitars, headless guitars, you know, the whole new modern guitar thing, basically. Now, I've played one or two over the years in the past. You know, maybe they had one sitting around a Guitar Center used or something like that, but never really had a chance to compare and get into the whole thing. So, instantly developed a fascination with the idea of owning a headless fan fret guitar. Started doing research and ran into GOC. Not only was I immediately struck by the body shape. Obviously I was looking for fan fret and headless, so that's a given, right? But the materials that are being used, I mean, I've been looking for an ash guitar, the Wenge fretboard. Wenge first caught my interest at NAMM as well when I was hanging out with Eric at the Skirvason booth, and I think it was the Raptor 7 that he had there, and that had the Wenge fretboard. I think that's which guitar it was. Maybe he can correct me if not. But Eric from Skirvason Guitars / he's also the guy behind the String Source. Check the String Source out. That's what I have on here. Anyways, we'll get more into that in a little bit. So, found out about GOC, loved the way the styles of the guitar were, had all the specs that I was looking for. Next price was insane. Their stock guitars, the Materia 7s, I think they were something like just about $900 if they had them in stock. But almost immediately after I discovered this company and started looking at their social media and stuff like that, they started the group run, okay? And the group run is basically where this thing came from. I think they said there were 78 guitars that were made for the group run. And this was, holy smokes, did you see that? No one would have believed me if that wasn't on camera. Hopefully it didn't break. Dang, I'm good. Did you see that? So, anyways, another issue that we'll get into later. The poly or Unitune clips barely fit on the headstock, but they do fit. I've never had that happen before. It's the first time. I guess I just didn't put it on securely enough. So I discussed with you about how the axes and styles are cool. Oh, the names caught my attention. I know that sounds silly, but this being the Materia. First of all, this is my favorite guitar that I saw on the website. And the name Materia caught my attention. I was always a Final Fantasy fan growing up. So, you know, I associated that with Final Fantasy VII right off the bat and just, you know, thought that was a cool little extra thing. Anyways, just wanted to throw that in there real quick. So, more on this run. So, like I said, they made like 78 guitars. We had our choice of like 7 different colors. It's violet, black, white, natural, brown, blue. Anyways, all these finishes were antique finishes. They're, you know, stains, as you can see. they're washed out in certain areas. On other guitars, have more or less imperfections than the next, which due to your taste, you may like better, or whatever. Personally, I think it's badass to have the different variation in color, and it's the washed out stain, and it looks like it's been worn a little bit. I love it. I think it's awesome. So we got our choices in colors. We got our choices in fretboard, which was either the Wangay fretboard, which I chose, or maple fretboard. Also, you got your choice. You got your choice of Guitar Marie pickups, which I have not yet received. I chose Fox Bats. Currently, I have the GOC Fourth Dimension pickups in here right now, which in my opinion totally kick ass. You get stock pickups a lot of the time, and you pick up that guitar and plug it in, it's just real sloppy and loose and noisy. These pickups are everything but. Let's pick up where we left off with this thing. I don't know if you saw the Facebook video. I didn't put it on YouTube. The last thing I did was a Facebook video / Instagram video, same video. Basically explaining that I was going to take this bad boy into the shop, get a shim thrown on it to get my action tweaked to where I wanted to, and that way I could get on with this review. So, dropped the guitar off at the shop. Told him need the shim, told him, what I wanted, low action, a basic setup, intonation. The only special request I had, I think, was to move the strap button, which didn't happen. I ended up actually doing that myself, which I'll throw a clip on here for those who want to see, in case it's something that you'd like to do to yours. Anyways, so I get a call a week to the day. Actually, I think it was a day before, so like 6 days into my guitar being at the shop, we find out they've realized that they don't have the correct size wrenches to work on, I'm assuming, the saddles, because the saddles, these little screws down here, these Allen keys are tiny. So anyway, so after them checking things out for a day and deciding whether or not they wanted me to bring the wrenches down, actually, I waited to hear from them and never heard from them another 24 hours, so I proceeded to contact them once more, because actually GOC had contacted me and was curious how things were going. They have great customer service, so they were, checking in on stuff. So I called the dudes down there to see if they had found the wrenches or what was going on. I assumed they had got it figured out, because they told me they were going to call me that morning if they needed the wrenches. So it was like 5 o'clock that night or something. Maybe a little later. No, I don't know, something like that. Anyways, so I hit the guy up. They say they need the wrenches. So, okay, I bring the wrenches down there. They're getting ready to close, and they're not going to open the following day till noon, which is Friday. That Friday, they open at noon, and I get a call at 2:30. So like 2 hours later, saying that my guitar is ready to be picked up. So 2 hours for intonation to, any of the setup stuff that need to be done, aside after putting on the shim. And, shim's going to take a second. I mean, I don't know. In my experience, I'm not, Mr. Pro, but I couldn't do all that in 2 hours. But anyways, so I pick up the guitar, and the thing is, it's destroyed. I mean, it's physically still in working condition, but it's in worse. The setup is worse than when I brought it in, and not to mention that, but the pickups were completely covered in what to me only seems like it could be steel wool fibers, and you know how bad steel wool is for pickups. I mean, it was a mess. That night after I picked up the guitar, I had bad fret buzz. My action was not ideal at all. They did what they could do to get it low, but when they put the shim on, the problem I had before without the shim is I couldn't get the saddles low enough to get the action low enough to be where it needed. So they put a shim on and raised all the saddles. Now I have the opposite problem. I can't raise my strings any higher, and I'm still getting a little bit of fret buzz, right? So that's how I picked it up. I talked to them about it. They didn't charge me, obviously. I mean, there was still wool on the frets. You can still see there. I mean, you may not be able to pick it up, but you can see the marks on the fretboard from working on the frets. I don't know, it was just a sloppy job. Very disappointed. I've always had good luck with the guys at the tone shop, but it really just seems like whoever was working on my guitar didn't want to, and basically called it good, and you know, it seems like they were just over it and said call the guy and have him come pick it up, because I mean the frets weren't even repolished, the thing wasn't even cleaned. I've never received a guitar back like that from a professional, or really, I mean, I wouldn't go to anybody besides professional, but you know what I'm saying. I've never ever experienced anything like that. Pretty surprised. Like I said, normally they do me good, but anyways. So back to the story here. Back to the main point. Cleaned the guitar for a couple hours. Spent the following day, which was Saturday, so that was yesterday. So I spent yesterday setting the guitar up, okay? And I did a bunch of stuff to it to get it where I have it now, and I'm extremely happy with it. So I never should have took the guitar in the first place. All it did is take me this long, you know. I spent a bunch of time waiting just to have to set the thing up myself anyway. We could have done this review demo a week ago, last weekend. I should be recording some cool stuff right now, but anyways, shit happens, you know. Oh, okay. So in case you want to know how I cleaned these pickups, it was pretty interesting. Maybe I'll throw up a couple pictures. So what I did is I called a good friend of mine. Well, I called a buddy of mine. He's a friend. I don't know him that well. I don't want to, you know, pretend I know him that well. But he's a real cool guy. Every time I have a question about pickups or guitar stuff and I ask him, he's always been there to help. His name is Byron. He is the owner and creator of Joby Tone pickups, which from my understanding are pretty awesome. I unfortunately haven't had the chance to check them out, but I definitely have plans to in the future. If anything, based on just how helpful this guy has been to me for absolutely no reason. I reached out to him, and he responded well, and we've kept in contact ever since. So anyways, he let me know that the first thing that I should do is try to find, you know, some sort of powerful magnet or something to get as much as the steel wool fibers off the pickups as I possibly can, and then from there going to compressed air. I had basically removed the pickups out, opened the back cavity. So what I did is I took an old stereo speaker, okay, like an old car stereo, like a 3x5 or whatever's in the side door, from my truck. I upgraded the speakers years back. And I kept these things and I ripped it apart, right? And I took the magnet out of it, and took all the shielding and everything I possibly could off. I'll throw a picture up of it. And took the strings off. Took the strings off, pulled the pickups out, left the wiring intact, pulled the back cavity, did everything I can to use that magnet to pull it all off. You can still see the steel wool on those magnets. On the big magnet worked the best, is the most powerful, but there's like nooks and crannies and such that I need to get into in the bridge and things like that. I use these little like telescoping like magnets that would be used to like pick up tools, like have like a light and a magnet on the end sort of a thing. You've probably seen them before. Those came in handy as well. After I got everything I possibly could removed with magnets, I took the compressed air cans, you know, like computer duster, outside, away from the studio, away from any of my in the front yard, as a matter of fact. And I used two cans to clean all the cavities out, make sure that, you know, anything that was left behind was completely eliminated. So that was a pain in the ass. The reason I had to get to that immediately instead of returning the guitar back to the shop to let the shop take care of it is because I was sort of at this point afraid to take it back to the shop because the condition my guitar was returned in and called finished was a joke. And two, my friend Byron told me that the steel wool on the pickups and such, and I've read this before, But he said that it starts to oxidize, super, super fast, and it rusts, within a day, basically. And the shop was closing. They told me to come bring the guitar, but I knew they weren't going to work on the guitar till the next day, right? So the guitar was going to sit there all night, covered in all this steel wool fiber. Not to mention that I have no idea how long it's been there in the first place, right? So I don't want to wait, hours for it to be worked on again. I decided to go ahead and, I'm just gonna take care of it myself because I know I'll do a good job, right? I love this thing. So anyways, we got everything sorted out. The guitar, I got everything sorted out. The guitar's cleaned up. I reset up the entire guitar. There's not one thing on this guitar that I didn't have to mess with from getting it back from the shop. Like I said, I spent the entire day yesterday doing it. Very happy with the way it feels now. Start with the frets, right? Might as well. We're kind of on that subject anyway. Now, the SBE ball-in frets, right, that the Materia 7 has, I don't know if it's a GOC exclusive, but I've never seen these ball-in frets on another guitar personally. Now, I've had people wonder and ask questions, can the strings, do they get caught underneath the ball ends, or is the ball ends raised off the frets or anything like that? No, the ball ends of the frets, as you've probably seen in some of my other pictures or whatever videos, the frets are completely flat to the fretboard. There is no gap underneath the ball end. They do go to the end of the fretboard. They don't stick out. They're not super short. I mean, they're right where they need to be. They did a great job. There was a lot of hype from GOC about how awesome these frets were going to be, so a lot of people are skeptical, but they truly are well crafted. Unfortunately, mine have been scuffed up and not repolished by the tone shop, so they're not as immaculate condition as they were originally, but they still play fine, luckily. So it's my first fan fret guitar. Okay, people have questions about that. How does the fan fret feel? Okay, I don't know exactly what the degree of the fanning and stuff is here, but it's not very extreme. For me, the adaptation was extremely simple. I could almost say it's better not to pay attention when you're learning to play on a fan fret than to analyze and let it get in your brain that these frets are shaped different and you have to move differently. If I can close my eyes or not pay attention, and you land just where you need to be. I mean, you don't have to play any differently than you normally would. Everything feels perfectly normal, perfectly fine, as long as you don't let that stuff get in your head. You gotta avoid that, the whole mental block. That's all it is. Just play the guitar like you'd normally play the guitar, and it plays like a guitar. These frets are smooth, they're fast, they feel great. An important point with the fan frets, okay. So sitting down, the Materia is comfortable, cowboy position. You saw me, in some of the other videos, I sat cowboy position and played, the whole time. And it's fine. But personally, I prefer classical position, not just for fan frets, but in general. And especially with fan fret, I feel that the classical position, being more centered in the body, puts your arm and hand in a more natural position for the feel of a fan fret. Now, I know I just got done basically stressing about how you don't really have to pay attention, you don't really have to make adjustments, but you're putting yourself at an advantage by getting yourself into a more natural, comfortable position. For me, when doing this cowboy style, I kind of feel like my hand's in an awkward position. That's may just be me, but I know I've talked to at least one other person, I think two, you are, about the same problem. So having it centered in the body for me, if you're a new fan fret player, if you're playing like this with fan frets and you're thinking, oh, it's uncomfortable, I don't like it, or whatever, give it a chance. Go classical. Go traditional style. In order to achieve that with a strap, I have moved the strap button to behind the neck. Okay, which again, I have some video footage of that, and I'll go ahead and put that on here. Sorry, I know this is, you know, chill paced review. Again, I just want to be real and talk to everybody about my experience and what's happened so far. So now next, the maple inlays in the Wenge fretboard are a nice little attention to detail. I think they look rad. There is a, you know, little imperfection here and there on the inlay work, but nothing like real, you know, noticeable. It's, you know, we're talking nitpicking details like, oh, that's not a perfectly straight, you know, line right there, like stuff like that. I personally don't give a that's fine with me. Function, not fashion for this guy. Now we go on to this headpiece slash 0 fret nut deal. Hopefully you can see this okay on camera. I'm gonna go ahead and get some close-ups. These pieces up here, they seem like they're pretty good quality. I'd imagine that they're steel, but I guess they could be brass like these pieces down here. I don't have the specs on everything on the guitar, but anyways, so you can see it's got these locking screws here, which some of you may already be familiar with. You know, the bottom's flat. At first, I was pretty unsure about this system. There's no nut that, you know, holds your string in place, like, so you're kind of doing guesswork as far as, you know, the exact positioning. At least that's how I felt originally. But when you get the string in there and you get the string kind of pulled tight, as you slowly use that Allen key to put that, you know, screw down and flatten on top of the string, if you just make sure that the string's going down flat and not being pushed off to one side or the other, it lines you up just perfect. I mean, there's no issue there. I've had a couple of guys ask how the locking mechanism works, if I've had any trouble with them staying in place or, you know, things like that. And no, I haven't had any trouble at all. And I just do it snug tight, maybe a little bit tighter. You know, I don't use the bottom torquey part of the Allen key. I use it to where it's standing up and tall, and I just do it, you know, little past snug, and that seems to hold the strings in place just fine. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the neck. The overall feel of the neck is great. It's you know, compound radius, so the neck's a little bit thicker up here, a little bit thinner down here, but it also tapers, being skinny and getting wider towards the bottom, in case you don't know what the compound is. It's similar in feel to the Ibanez neck, is, you know, but it is, the overall neck is a little bit thicker, which I don't mind. It's not uncomfortable, like it's not thick, you know, you don't feel like your hand's filled up, like, oh man, like you're not stretching around, you know, hard like some necks can be. It actually, I would say it's perfect, to be honest. I love the size of the neck. I think it's perfect. It's maple neck, bolt on, 6 bolts, okay. Wenge fretboard. I really like the look of the Wenge fretboard. When I saw the pictures of this guitar online, when it was being built, I couldn't see the light spots in it as well, like in the pictures, but when I got it in person, I thought it looked fantastic. And also it has like a bit of a gloss or a sheen, some sort of coating on it, which I didn't really expect, you know, that sort of semi-gloss feel, but started to grow on me quite a bit. I actually like it. Either way, I've also noticed with a couple of cleanings, the fretboard seems to be developing more of a matte finish. Either way, it feels fast, it feels good. The fretboard doesn't feel sticky or anything like that at all. Very similar to rosewood, I mean, really, or like ebony, in my opinion. Feels pretty similar. I'm not, you know, Mr. Fretboard expert, but feels good to me. Again, I think the maple inlays are cool. It's a nice, you know, addition to detail. It's not a flawless addition of detail, as I brought up, but I think it's a classy touch. I like the fact that it's a wood inlay. I think that's neat. Oh, I didn't talk about or I forgot to bring up the neck pocket. The neck pocket is done super tight. I mean, it's all CNC'd out, right? So it's perfect fit. Super snug. 100% access to the neck. I'm sorry, 100% access to the frets. Easily. There's nothing stopping you from shredding on this thing. The actual pocket itself, where everything meets, you can see is extremely thin, very comfortable, no issues at all with playability or access. Probably one of the more comfortable neck pockets that I've had on the bolt-on. Moving on to the bridge. This is my first headless guitar, so it's my first time having a bridge system like this. So far I dig it. I feel like it's easier to land in tune, if that makes sense. I don't know, I feel like rolling up to that tuning is easier to get that pinpoint spot rather than like the way a traditional tuner feels. I don't know if it's the difference in ratio. I'm not sure what the ratio is on these barrels. Actually, I have no clue whatsoever. But yeah, something to me, rolling up to pitch just feels better, and I feel like I'm getting more accurate. The bigger your string, the more tension on the string, and the harder these barrels are to turn. They have slots in them, which is awesome, just like, you know, Strandberg or the other companies, so you can use your pick, you know, all the same to get the fine-tuning details and really to save yourself. As I was working on this thing all day yesterday, you know, detuning or untuning and retuning and checking things and making adjustments and back and forth, I'll tell you, my thumb and index finger on my right hand they're shot. They're sore today. So the quality of the bridge, it's all brass, I believe. I know these parts are brass. I can see some paint coming off the barrels, so the barrels have to be brass. You got these cool little locking screws down here, which after you slip the string through the barrels and the barrels kind of butt up to where they're supposed to be, you have this, you know, secondary lock here. Push the screw down, holds the string in place. I imagine it's got to help with sustain too. So you almost have a double locking system. It gets locked down here and it gets locked up there. I mean, I guess it is a double locking system. Electronics on this thing are pretty simple, right? Volume, 3-way toggle, pickup selector. I believe GOC informed me that the electronics are Korean. I opened up the back cavity to take a look at the wiring and see how things were done. It was pretty good. I mean, it didn't look like it was done like a robot, 100% flawlessly. It looked like there was a guy in there working on my guitar, you know what I mean? But all in all, the wiring is clean, soldering is strong, the sound is good. Love the location of the toggle switch. It's in the perfect spot, in my opinion. Making, you know, those fast switches, it's super easy during, you know, changing parts and whatnot. And the body on this thing, okay, as discussed earlier, this guitar is made out of ash, and I can't remember, but I think that the weight was somewhere around 5-6 pounds total. This guitar weighs nothing, and it feels killer on your body. I say it's light, right? But it still feels like it's a nice solid piece of wood. People complain about headless guitars, you know, feeling cheap or like toys, or, you know, resembling toys and things like that. Nothing about this guitar in any way, to me, gives off toy. This is a professional, you know, sounds great, right? This is a professional guitar, ready to shred. As I mentioned before, it feels good cowboy style. It feels good traditional classical style. I personally prefer classical style, mainly because I feel like it fan fret puts my hand in a little bit awkward position on the cowboy. Again, I don't know if that's a popular opinion or if that's just my personal preference. That's actually something that I, you know, just recently found out and have been playing with myself. It feels nice and solid. It's really resonant. I don't know. Let's keep the pickup off. I'm just trying to give you an example of, you can hear the wood. You hear the wood really well. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes, so to speak. The fourth dimension pickups, okay? You guys heard a little bit of these pickups from me on the other demos. I don't even know if you can call it, yeah, there was the one demo, right? The out of box demo, I called it. I think that was the last video I did, right? Anyways, so you got a good preview of what these guys do, a little bit of chug, a little bit of jam. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the Wangate bobbins. Are freaking awesome. They look great. You can see the grain pattern is going the opposite direction as the neck. I personally think that's super classy. I dig it. I think it looks dope. Everything, you know, on the guitar is going this way, all the grain, and the pickups that are going this way also have the grain going that way. Nice little detail in my opinion. Besides the fact that they kick ass. Okay, so the Tone Shop put a shim underneath the neck when they had it. Okay, they busted the neck up a little bit higher, just like I wanted. That's the one thing that they did do. I guess I can say I'm happy with. That brings us to the pickups. The way they're installed, they don't have springs, they just have foam that it rests on, right? So I do not have the option of bringing the pickups higher. I only have the option of making the pickups go lower, okay? So the way this guitar has been set up with the shim and the way the saddles are now, my action is at a little bit of a diagonal, okay? To where my high strings are lower, right? And my low strings are, you know, higher because they're bigger, right? So what I did is I threw foam, and I have a picture, and I'll probably throw it on there. I threw foam underneath each side. Now I measured how much taller I wanted each side of the pickup to be. One was 7/64 and the other one was 9/64. And I took that, you know, hard foam, like the stuff that comes, I don't know if you've seen those, the foam they make for pickups, like it'll have the pickup spring and it'll be surrounded in that hard foam to keep the spring from making noise. It's that same kind of foam that they use underneath the pickups already. I use the exact same kind of foam, just added a little bit to each side to bring those pickups to a diagonal, which brought my pickups as close to the strings as I need them. Now a little tip for you guys, I use the old luthier trick. I put a nickel, lay it flat on my pickup, I push the string down, and I make sure that the string isn't touching the nickel. I get it pretty close, but that's basically my separation and how I adjust my pickups. That's how I came up with these tones. So I'm gonna go ahead and record some stuff and see what these pickups really sound like, and we'll get back. Hold on. A little bit of bridge pickup for you. Whatever. Some pretty good chugs though. I mean, those pickups are nice and tight and clean, so the neck pickup, give you a little bit of meat. So a little bit fuller, a little bit of a fatter, thicker sound as you would expect from a neck pickup, right? Which is going to be used for more of, you know, bridge, nice and meaty. Neck pickup, thick and fat. I like the little reverb and delay on that neck. Kind of feels in some of the spice. I'm experiencing temperature problems with the camera, and it's Sunday afternoon. It's not the most ideal time to hang around the studio and try to record. All kinds of interruptions. So I'll send you off with the demo here at the end, but I kind of want to recap on everything real quick and maybe add some points that I didn't get to originally. Research GOC after NAMM, right? As I started off, basically had this newfound obsession with headless guitars, fan fret guitars, after being at the last NAMM in January, checking things out there. Got back home, started doing research, found GOC Guitars, learned about the group run there, having joined the group run. This is what I got out of the group run. And to give a recap on my review. So, again, points I wanted to make about the frets. You don't slip off the edge, these ball ends. There's no getting caught underneath the strings. The job's done nice and clean. The frets do seem to be pretty damn level. There is less problems than I initially thought after setting things up a little better. I'm only finding one dead spot at this point, which is better than I thought. And GOC told me that they think maybe there was wood expansion, maybe that fret popped up a little bit, so maybe I can tap it back down. Otherwise, underneath that string on the fret towards the bridge, I'll file that down a little bit, do what I can, to smooth that out. But otherwise, the frets were done well. I'm very happy with them. Well polished. The ball ends are fantastic. They feel great, feel smooth. Fan fret, easy to adapt to. Better in classical position for me. The nut up here, I feel like it seems to be pretty good quality. I've had no problems with locking the strings in. I actually am starting to favor this system. It is pretty damn quick for string changes, so I do like that. The neck itself feels very similar, in my opinion, to a compound radius Ibanez, maybe a little bit thicker, but I really like the way that it feels. Hard rock maple neck feels great. Wenge fretboard, everything's super fast. I believe these frets are stainless steel, if I didn't mention that before. I'm not 100% sure, but they look like they are to me. If I find out that I'm incorrect, I'll try to put that in the comments, or maybe someone can correct me in the comments. Super comfy. The neck pocket is real nice and tight. There's the cutaway allows complete access to the entire fretboard. No problems at all with access. Like I said, it's thin back here. One of the better neck pockets on a bolt-on that I personally have played. I think it's extremely comfortable. Maple inlays, cool, nice little addition. Not perfect, but they're nice. And then now bridge quality. I think everything's brass. As I told you before, be careful. The paint scuffs off pretty easily, but all the hardware and stuff seems to be high quality. The screws and things, everything was cinched down pretty decently. Easy to work with. Be careful with your Allen keys that do come for the bridge. They're really small. Maybe magnetize them. Maybe set you a magnet on your workshop or to put them on or something like that, so you can keep track of them. They are odd sizes. Order you some backups. Maybe GOC will have that available. I know Joseph was suggesting maybe having backups on the website that we can order. That's a pretty damn good idea. Moving on to the barrels, or continuing with the barrels of the bridge, I guess I should say. The ease of use is from 1 to 10. I'd say it's 6, only because some of these barrels are real easy, and when they get higher tension, they get pretty hard to turn. So 6, 7 on the ease of use there. String changes are quick. My 64 gauge does not quite fit and seat properly in the biggest barrel, so that's just a heads up to anybody else who plays the bigger strings on this end. I'm not sure what's the largest size that the barrel can accept. I'm sure GOC will be happy to give that information, and again, if I can, I'll include that in the comments. The body is ash, feels great. We went into that before. I don't think I need to really touch up on anything on that. Talked about the electronics. There's not really much to add on that. The pickups, again, they're nice and tight. They sound pretty dope in my opinion. The bobbins, I'm pretty sure they're real Wenge, which that's a real nice classy touch. Again, I talked about the grain going the opposite direction with it. I think it's cool. The neck pickup could be a little more buttery, in my opinion. Maybe a little more smooth, but I do like it overall. Because of the shim under the neck, I did end up needing to put foam underneath these pickups to pop the low end, the bass end up a little higher to create a diagonal slant, so my pickups are riding evenly with the action of the strings. Again, the guitar was not 100% flawless. There are some spots, where it's stained bled into screw holes and the inlay wasn't cut exactly, like perfectly. Little details like that. Not really a big deal. Cosmetic flaws, right? The only functional issue I had is that the action was too high, and I do have a dead spot on one of my frets, which again, very well may have happened from travel, from expansion in wood. So I'm not going to necessarily blame that part on GOC, because everything else on the fretwork seems like the details, it was done too well for them to make that mistake, in my opinion. It just seems like there is a good chance that maybe there was some movement, because everything else just looks great, feels great, works great. Anyways, continuing on, I would have liked if the inside of the pickup cavities were stained as well. I think that would have been, sort of a nice additional touch. Not that big of a deal to not have it. Again, you can see a little bit where the stain kind of bled in, so I just feel like if they would have just done the whole thing over, it'd been a little bit cleaner. Again, this guitar was $690, including a case, including the GOC 4th Dimension pickups, and a second set of my choice from the Guitar Marie, which I chose the Fox Pats. That price point, this is amazing. That includes shipping and everything. Ash, maple neck, Wenge fretboard, the SBE fretboard, or Fretwork. Sorry, trying to hurry up and wrap this up for you guys. The total package for the price, I don't see how you're going to get this sort of quality or this sort of guitar anywhere else. My Sterling, and that's why I play Sterling besides this new GOC. I do music for a living. I'm not a rich guy at all. I'm actually pretty poor, really. I'm lucky to have support from, certain people in my life that help me be able to achieve these things and can get that back when necessary. I mean, it's like that. It's hard to make a full-time income or part-time income working, 100 hours a week doing what I do. Sometimes I don't make any money. It's just how it is. Anyways, so this guitar is perfect for somebody like me who's a working musician who can't afford to pay for, $2,500 guitar, but needs something that you can record with, that you can rely upon on the road, that's not too hard to work on. I took to the shop. I don't know what the heck they did to it besides totally screwed it up. Sorry about the doggy door noise. Dogs coming in and out. Again, it's Sunday afternoon. Probably wasn't the best day to do this, but I kind of like to keep things real, so we'll continue with wrapping this up. If you are in the market for not just a fan fret guitar or a headless guitar, but a high quality guitar, in my opinion. I mean, it's not the best quality guitar you're going to find on the market, but it is the best quality guitar you will find on the market at this price point. I can pretty much guarantee that from my experience. Again, the only thing that's came close is, maybe one of those good middle of the line, like my Zyphos, Ibanez Zyphos, or the JP7s. I think GOC is competing, if not going to be winning in that price range. These guitars are sturdy, well made. They look great, they sound great, and again, hell, if you think about the Guitar Marie pickups, those are like 200 and something bucks just for the set of pickups. That means this guitar was only like 400 and something dollars if you think about it. 400 and something dollars. I mean, come on, dude. That's because of the group run, right? And that's because I'm subtracting the price of the, what I would have paid separately for the Guitar Marie pups, Fox Pats. But just think about that. You're not going to find anything like this for that kind of price, especially the customer service that comes from these guys. They went above and beyond to do everything they could to make sure that the guitar got here safely, that the problems that happened after the guitar got here, they were there to, help guide me through, as well as a couple of buddies of mine that work in the industry. It's been a hell of an experience, and I tell you, I loved this guitar from the moment it got here. I loved it when the tone shop screwed it up and it felt like shit, and it was covered in steel wool, and I had to spend 2 hours cleaning it. I'll tell you, it just brought me closer to this guitar, and allowed me to kind of analyze things more and make better adjustments. Now that I know this guitar and have it set up properly, it's gonna be, I can tell you right now, it's gonna be the new workhorse, the new #1 guitar in the toolkit. So you're gonna be seeing a lot more out of me with this instrument. So I'm very happy with it. I'm actually excited to hear what the Guitar Memory Fox bats are gonna sound. So I'll do a demo when I get those installed as well. Be a little bit different. We'll just focus on those pickups and show you what it sounds like. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it, man. Reach out to the people at GOC if you have any additional questions. They will definitely answer them. The dudes there are super rad. They've been nothing but kind and responsive, and at times put up with my bullshit when I'm curious about what's going on or concerned, because how it is, man. You're waiting on a guitar build, months go by and they're busy, and I don't want to say I necessarily ever got nervous, but you get curious as to what's happening in the process, and they were fantastic. They sent pictures to us. They basically did whatever they needed to keep me in the loop and made me feel comfortable. And now they're moving on to an eco line of guitars with this new Atlas wood. That's going to be awesome. I super look forward to that. But anyways, man, so wrap it up. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a demo, let you hear how these pickups sound. Quickly, 4 tracks, just double tracking each part. Bright crispy tones come from the new Bog Street prototype pick that I'm using. Can't show you too much of that. Strings provided by String Source, the Topaz 7 sets, which I think are just absolutely lovely on this guitar. Medium tension, I am tuned to E rather than my standard E flat, so that makes a difference. Pulled things a bit tighter. The guitar feels great. These pickups, well, let's let them do the talking. Let's get this hair out of here, and let's see how it sounds. Check it out.